into the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello, everyone. Something scary just happened. Welcome to The Americans After Show, Season 3, Episode 12. I am Abbasin Nadreen. I hope I said that right.
I am Abbasin Zadran.
Zadran. Why did I put Nadreen? Zadran. Thanks so much for tuning in. I am Adrian Snow. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Miss Adrian Snow. And here's the rest of the panel. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Matt Ritter. You can find me at Twitter, Matt Ritter1, YouTube, Matt Ritter Comedy, and my website, Matt Ritter Comedy.
Sup, guys? I'm at Radio TFB on Twitter, and go at joshrichmond.net for other goodies and such.
My name's Ben Bateman. You guys can find me at Ben Bateman Media, Twitter, Instagram, and Periscope.
Oh yeah, I joined Periscope this weekend.
Oh no!
Because it was my sister's wedding and I wanted to live stream, but I had a good reason.
Periscope's we won't digress. I will tell you, I've legit figured out how it works. Mm-hmm. You just go live a bunch and talk to people, and they follow you. It does not matter what you talk about. It doesn't have to be interesting. In no way does it have to be related to anything you're doing.
So I could talk about different types of farts, and people would find that interesting, like ninja fart versus broccoli fart versus.
I've been doing a thing.
I mean, you can get noticed like the fart guy.
I've been doing a thing for 5 minutes at the end of the night where I take my shirt off and I do this, and I go, shirtless guy ask me anything for 5 minutes, and I'll get 5 followers.
Well, that's
every
why
time.
you're getting followers.
Yeah.
I'm going
Dad.
shoulders up. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I'm literally just doing this shoulders up.
If I had a six-pack, I'm sure I could do the same thing. All right?
I stay
Pimping
shoulders
out
up.
his body to the lowest bidder.
Right?
To the
What's
lowest
that about?
bidder.
Anyways, outside of Periscope and Ben being like kind of slutty. First thoughts.
First, God. Hello, my name is Abbasin Nadreen.
I
Killed my father, prepare to die.
I love this episode, man.
Yeah.
They were really seriously ratcheting up the tension.
Okay.
I know that you're I know that you're a little
I'll
skeptical.
give
No.
you tension. I won't in any way take away from the fact that they definitely were ratcheting up the tension. That's basically what this episode offered, though. It didn't really feel like anything paid off. I was bored by most of the turns. I definitely enjoyed the vibe, and there were moments in the episode where I was like on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
But
I like that feeling. I mean, I like that feeling. I like the feeling of getting to the edge of the seat. I find that almost in some ways more rewarding than an actual big
Right, just
action
thinking, oh god,
scene.
what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen?
Yeah.
I guess I like a bit more of a shock. You know, when I'm trying to think of something where I was just like, what? Okay, so like any Game of Thrones, really. There's the
big ones.
They're the big ones where you're just like kind of not. I'm not going to spoil Game of Thrones,
Right.
but the moments like that or Hannibal. Like there are moments in Hannibal that I just think, oh, they're not going to do that. Oh my god, they did that. And with the Americans, it is a different vibe and it is a different feel.
Right.
I get that, but usually. They give me something, and holding off until the very last episode, it just kind of sets everything up for a cliffhanger, which I get, but I just wanted a little bit more from this episode.
Guy, that's the show where this isn't Game of Thrones. It's like it's Dynamite with a long fuse that was set at the beginning of the season, and it's a
Totally.
slow,
I'm with you, man. I like
But
this.
every
I
now
like
and
the
then,
slow
I
burn.
just like one little
I like
pop.
that we don't know where the end of the fuse is. We don't know. It could have happened this episode, and it wouldn't have shocked us.
It could.
been that moment.
They could be building for like a whole other season. The entire series is just this long, slow building.
I like
tension.
it not being so obvious what's going to happen too. You know,
Right.
like we're all guessing, and we've been guessing wrong sometimes.
Right,
you know?
it's not going to happen where like Stan kills Martha and then all of a sudden Philip, sleeps with Kimmy and like it's all going to happen boom, boom, boom. You know?
Where's Kimmy?
Where is Kimmy?
No, we don't need to ask that. She's gone. Okay, she's gone.
The producers were like, don't explain it. Just get
She
rid of
will
her.
be here
gone.
next week.
And then Gabriel gets his hand chopped off, and like Claudia's actually a guy. And it's not that kind of show.
I don't. No. But I'm not saying I need it to be like a shocking show. I don't need it to be even Game of Thrones shocking. I'm saying that just sometimes it's nice when something that you just don't expect to happen at all just happens, and they can breeze over it and whatever. But just having at least, I guess, just one thing tied up, even if like, and we'll get to this, but even if, Elizabeth straight up just was like, you know what, I'm just gonna kill Maurice and just did it right then.
Right.
It would mean not very much to the season finale overall, but it would be like just so like, oh, she
Right.
did it.
That's
It'd
more
be
like
nice.
that's more like for the fan. You know what I mean? That would, I feel like that would just be for us and not for like for this being true to the story.
I mean,
Well, I
there may
still
not-
think she's going to kill him. I'm just saying.
yeah,
I think
I
she
know,
could
but
have
I'm
done it
saying
this
like I agree
episode.
because like we're like the bloodthirsty mob in Rome.
Yeah.
You know, we're all
Oh,
like
yeah.
thumbs down. But I feel like it wouldn't this week. Nothing would have been true to the story if we had any.
I mean,
No,
because whether it's shocking or not, it's certainly not predictable. I mean, we've been
No,
trying to
no,
predict
yeah.
what happens, and we are wrong like every time.
I think I've been right every time, just not at the right time.
Well,
Right.
we've had multiple predictions. We've had predictions of Pastor Tim and Martha both getting killed, and both of them this episode, and Maurice, in fact, all three in the
Right.
last 3 weeks.
Right.
And all three at one point tonight, I was like, "You're gonna die. You're gonna die."
yeah,
sure.
I have
By
so
the
many.
end of the
You're
episode,
dead. You're
you'll be
dead.
dead, yeah.
Skull and crossbones.
I thought for sure Martha was dying this episode.
I
but
have
no.
Maurice is gonna die written again.
Yeah.
I just
Well, Maurice is going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
he's
just
definitely going to
unavoidable.
die.
Unavoidable.
I don't know about the other two, but Maurice is going to die.
Maybe-
they're setting it up where it's
Well,
unavoidable.
I mean, not necessarily to start there, but maybe Maurice is like smarter than he seems. Like it does seem like he's playing the game well. He's
Yeah.
playing Elizabeth pretty well.
He is, but he's still like he doesn't know,
He doesn't know
the
what she's
danger
capable
he's
of. I
in.
mean,
Yeah,
right.
he's playing it from the stance of, oh, I got this. I can handle this woman.
He doesn't
Right.
know
He
doesn't
physically she
realize
could
what is going
break
on.
his
No, he
neck
just
in
doesn't.
2 seconds.
He
Yeah.
thinks it's just some woman who's got a good deal running a scam.
Yeah.
He doesn't realize that he's dealing with like an entire country outside of this like highly trained assassin.
Right.
But on that point, should we go ahead and just talk about Paige?
Yeah.
let's do it.
I did write kill Paige now.
Ben would be so heartbroken.
Only with the scene where she just
Yelling.
burst into their room and I was
Right.
like, is this even real? Is this even real? Like, child, please. Like, you spent all this time carefully crafting out a way to tell your parents that you know something's wrong. And then you just become like petulant and annoying.
But that's the key word there is child. She is a child. She's
Yeah.
15
Yeah.
years old, and I
I
think she has
know,
a hard
but
time
I-
dealing with those emotions.
And I totally get
Yeah.
it. But what I'm saying is that they did this really great thing of making Paige semi-likable majority of the season by just having her handle things so well.
Right.
And I get, yeah, it's a lot to handle, your parents being Russian spies. But get your get your stuff together.
Have you ever gone? Have you ever gone through that personally? Have you ever found out that your parents are Russian spies? Because if you had, maybe you could
the
relate.
day that
but
I
you haven't.
realized that my parents are human and flawed just like me, that was
Right.
a rough day.
Blows your
Yeah.
world.
But you deal with it.
Can I tell you what I really related to? Just when Paige pulled that, leaving a note and going to stay.
Yeah.
With, how did that ever happen to you guys? Like, I had this happen to me when I was her age, or maybe like 14. I just decided to steal my parents' car because I wanted to go to the Y and play basketball with my friend, and I just took the car.
Yeah.
And half hour later, we were done playing basketball, or an hour, and I get downstairs and they're both standing there like stone cold, and I was just like, oh, you guys didn't have to pick me up. I took the car. Like that
Yeah.
was like totally like what she pulled there.
Right.
I totally related to that.
Right,
like you knew that wasn't okay.
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
But you're that's what at that age you're testing the limits. You're seeing what you can get away with a little bit.
I didn't
I
do
think
that.
I think that's exactly what she's doing from her perspective. She's like, okay, what is true and what is false in this new world I'm living in? I need to know. I need to figure this
Yeah.
out.
Do we think? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, we all had that like little grimace Pastor Tim hug, right? Just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was just because he was sort of like, it was the like I'm your surrogate dad hug a little
Yeah.
bit. But like I know like this, it's just the stereotype. Is there any chance that that's going to be a weird pedophile thing?
No, I don't
They're
think
not going to
so.
go there.
I
I
doubt
think
it.
that was they showed strength coming there together. So
Right.
that was his little like, you don't have her all
Yeah.
to yourself yet. Don't you're not like. You
Oh,
haven't-
I don't
you know.
sense it going there. I just sort of, it's like almost unavoidable on television that's like what ends up happening. And it's just like there have been a couple comments throughout the season where I'm like, that's
I
really
don't think they're
interesting.
going to do that.
It's creepy enough that he's playing the surrogate dad.
Yeah.
He's like
Yeah.
clearly against Philip and Elizabeth's best wishes. He's creepy enough already.
At first, I thought that they might do that when he was first introduced.
Right.
But now that it's gone on for so long, I don't really have any kind of weird feelings about Pastor Tim. They might change it up and surprise me. That would be a real shock. But I was just really surprised by Philip and Elizabeth not commenting on the fact that she just didn't ask permission. That just kind of blew my mind.
Well,
like,
they're in a tenuous situation.
No, I get that, but it's still like, I would be more frustrated with the fact that you just didn't ask, like because that also shows like having trust. Like my mom, the rule was, if I wasn't home by 10:30, I had to stay wherever I was. You know how I earned that rule? Because I was a trustworthy kid.
Right.
Now, don't get me wrong, I was totally partying and drinking and being bad, but as long as I could find a safe place to rest my head after 10:30 at night, I could do what I wanted.
Yeah, but I think what you're saying was right about her pushing them a little bit too. You know, I mean, she's definitely pushing.
But that's
Also-
not how you gain trust.
Also, Paige like has the ultimate trump card on them.
Yeah.
Now. Can you imagine them trying to like punish her? Paige, you're grounded. Please don't call the police on us.
Well, what I thought was an interesting moment, it's like how they're dealing with her even physically. So there were two moments. One was in the garage where they were literally blocking her path, and she was like, "Can you get out of my way?" That set up. I wrote like threatening. It's kind of like a little threatening. And then the second time, Elizabeth actually put her hands on her mouth.
Yeah.
Which is not like a mother-daughter relationship.
No.
you know what I mean. This is more like.
Well, that was more of a spy being afraid for.
Absolutely. Which is it's like Paige doesn't necessarily realize the dangerous game she's playing.
She reverted to spy Elizabeth there in that that moment.
For a second, it was like scary,
Yeah. Well, and then this is the same thing. I think I asked this last week. I was like, "What would you guys do?" And it's that weird, difficult situation where you just have to say to yourself, like, "What's the most important thing here to me and to you, Elizabeth and Philip?" And also, what's the consequence if we are lenient here? If it feels like the cat's getting out of the bag, what do we do? If it really feels like she's gonna rat on us, then do we leave? Do we kill her? Like, what happens? Like, if that's a real thing and they have to decide, what do you think they would do?
There's just another layer when your parents, there's one thing to test your parents. Everyone at some point tests their parents. I'm sure my mom and I have definitely gotten to the point where it's like, we might fight. But...
Physically?
Yes.
But you're trained in that sweet kind of...
Krav Maga.
It's the same that Elizabeth does.
My mom's older. It's no contest. But she is feisty. But... it's another layer when your parents are spies, and there is a danger to them. Yeah. There's a danger for you as well. Like, even if she rats them out and they don't do anything to her, we kind of brought it up last week, the center might do something to her, and they don't. I think they need to just enforce that in Paige. It's not us that you need to worry about.
Right.
I don't think. I don't know. I think that they're just trying to let her. Like sort of vent, but like let whatever that first stage of, it's like the 5 stages of grief kind of thing,
Yeah.
She's in whatever stage she's in, and it has to I think they're trying to let her process
that.
Like
take the top off the pot.
But I don't think they want to scare her into,
they want her trust.
You say, by the way, somebody else will kill you if you say anything that might set her
I'm not saying they need to say that. I'm just saying that she doesn't seem to understand
how much is at stake.
Yes, the scale of things, and they kind of need to just remind her.
She's a self-involved teenager. She thinks the most important thing is
which
her
is
happiness.
why 15 is too young to tell your children you're a spy.
They tried. I mean, that's why they said if you don't respect this, we will go to jail for good.
Yeah. That's not enough.
No, agreed. Yeah. That was right when they told her. I definitely think the next step.
You won't get that pony we were going to buy you.
But really, no, I really do think the smartest thing they've done since she found out is Philip sitting down in this episode and showing her the old family photos.
Yeah.
Just reinforcing there's been a lot of things we lied to you about and we're sorry about that, but we really are a family and we have all these experiences together and I love you. And that's kind of the best you can do.
And inviting her to go to Russia.
Yeah.
That too.
I'm surprised that they can even go to Russia. Can they do that?
I know this is a fringe thing to comment on, but so she sits down and puts the music on, and then she's talking off camera, and you just see Paige's face in the scene where she tells her about Russia. Mm-hmm. I thought it was artistically kind of an interesting choice because they don't cut to Elizabeth while she's talking until after she's finished and Paige has reacted. Mm-hmm. And she put the music on. Was it the music because she was worried they were being bugged?
I was wondering about that. That actually made me think that visually, the way they shot it, that was sort of what made you believe for a second.
Maybe just so Henry would do.
Yeah, I think it was more so for Henry.
Yeah, that maybe makes more sense. I
know. I had that same. I was like, are they afraid their house is bugged? That was a weird.
In a way, they kind of have to act like their house is bugged all the time because there's somebody listening who they don't want to be listening.
Yeah. Definitely, she's more annoying than she has been in the past, and I was definitely more annoyed this episode than I'm used to being because
not your favorite character anymore, Pat?
Normally my favorite character, but
I think it's interesting too, though, the way Philip and Elizabeth handle her differently, and they got in a fight over it. Real snippy. She got really snippy when he was like, be careful, you snap a little.
Yeah.
And she snapped at him when he was like, you snap a little.
Yeah.
And it's
Calm
true.
yourself.
He's a little bit more savvy when it comes to Paige.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think he is.
But I feel like Henry. I feel like it's going to be Henry that drops the bomb or something because
I think so too.
They're ignoring him. Like they're ignoring him. The show is ignoring the character, and then the parents are ignoring him. Like they just left him at home watching the TV show. Like, okay, we're gonna go get Paige. And as a child, I have a half brother, and I always thought my dad like just favored him more. He's a boy, but it's always just like this kind of like secretly annoying thing, and it always just bothers me just like under the surface. And I wouldn't be surprised.
And by the way,
Henry,
they've dropped little hints. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, hey, I guess I'm going to play football video games with the neighbor if nobody's going to pay attention to me here.
Well, and I definitely made the prediction a couple weeks ago that I do think that his relationship, that they introduced that relationship between Henry and Stan.
Yeah.
And I don't think that he's going to directly tell. I just think that something around the house is going to be a little weird. Like maybe it's that they go to Russia. Where'd your parents go? Enter lie location that they tell him. That doesn't sound very plausible, and then he's going to figure that out or something.
I bet that Kenya trip is going to be their cover.
I wouldn't be
That Kenya trip
surprised
Pastor Simpson talking about.
if Henry already knows. I wouldn't be surprised if Paige already like told him.
Right. He's
and
just like,
dealing
I've known
with
this
it.
whole time, guys. I just want to watch the finale of MASH. You do your thing.
Hey, the match finale.
I just want to watch King of Comedy.
Yeah.
Weird things everybody's watching. You know, the Russians are watching Kings of Comedy, and an 8-year-old is watching the MASH finale.
What was the song they put on? I know we had it going. Vienna.
It was Vienna by Ultravox.
Awesome.
Classic. And King of Comedy, not a great movie to see on a first date, I don't think.
No.
That's a weird movie.
It's a real weird movie.
Well, if you're just looking to like hit it and quit it, maybe that's
Right.
you can just kind of like start the movie and then go and leave.
That's like an obscure De Niro piece of trivia, if you like, right? King of Comedy?
Oh, well, I mean, and it was one of Scorsese's best movies, too.
Yeah.
Not that obscure, is what you're
Not that
saying.
obscure.
Yeah.
I just mean, like, if people are like, De Niro was great in X, Y, and Z, like,
Yeah.
people are really like, the
Right.
King of Comedy is the thing.
Yeah, the people who are like, De Niro's great.
It's sort of his Dog Day Afternoon.
Yeah.
I could
You know?
I could totally see that. That's a good comparison.
Yeah,
Never seen it.
you should.
It's on my list. Is it
Yeah.
on Netflix?
Yeah, maybe. No, they have a bad
so
movie
hard
collection.
to find stuff nowadays.
They have a terrible movie.
So from that, we should probably move on to just the small blip of the Russians. We did kind of comment on them a little
Right.
bit.
I guess my question was what's her name? The female.
The Residentura.
Yeah,
The new Nina.
The new Nina.
I just
We
keep
don't know
keep
her
calling
name.
her the new
I don't
Nina.
know.
So I guess my question for you guys is: was she saying that he's in danger,
It kind of felt that way.
or just that he's going to be fired? It sounded like she was threatening, like his life was, like she knew something about him.
Isn't it the same thing in Soviet Russia?
If you get fired from your job.
Well, the last head of whatever became the head of the prison. So it probably is either you die or you get a really crappy job.
Right, but just for it's weird. So what is his agenda for shutting it down, other than making it seem like he's an idiot?
He thinks it's a waste of time, and because they're not getting anything out of it. But that's not very savvy.
That's
of
what I'm
him.
saying. It makes me think like he's not dumb.
Like, what do you
Like,
think
why
they're going to
would
be talking about?
Right, it's going to be a monotonous
Yeah.
task.
Yeah,
I'm-
you have to just wait until you get those few nuggets of gold
Right,
amidst all the
right.
other boring conversations.
Especially because the Residentura is aware that the FBI is aware of them.
So of course there's going to be mundane.
Oh, no, the FBI is aware of the Residentura.
Right.
So that they wouldn't speak in the same dialogue that they had spoken in before.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of a weird false note. Arcadia is usually pretty savvy, and it seems like the kind of thing you give a little bit more of a
You're
chance.
hoping for a needle in the haystack with this plan of attack. Anyway, so I don't understand. Who knows how long it's been that they've been sifting through these files?
I think it's just something for the new Nina to do and for Oleg to do, is to have them work on the operations
Nina.
effort.
Yeah.
Is it just me? I mean, I'm just going to go on record and say this. Scenes that don't involve Elizabeth or Philip or Beeman, so like FBI stuff, Martha, like those storylines, interesting to me. I'm entertained all the time. As soon as you give anything that has to do with the Russian characters, I immediately am like, I'm trying to be interested.
I think you're trying to figure out where it ties in. You know, that's
I
the
just
hard
don't
part.
care when it goes to the rest. Like I'm sitting there watching. I should be paying attention to this because there's something that has to do with the plot that's really important that's going on here. Otherwise, they wouldn't be showing it to me. So I
Right.
need to make sure I'm watching. I need to not tune out. but I just keep finding myself tuning out.
Like we said, we don't even know her name, which is they haven't given us enough character-wise to really enjoy their interactions.
It's a low investment, I think, in those characters.
Well, the stuff with Nina, honestly, for a lot of stuff with Nina, her storylines, I just kind of zone out. I'm just like, what? I know you guys need to tie this in to make the show interesting, but really, ultimately, I'm not sold on.
You know what's interesting, and I think Game of Thrones is instructive in this. You know, they've sidelined Bran for this entire season, and they basically sidelined Theon for an entire season. You know, sometimes when you have these vast shows that are hour-long shows, and there's just probably 9 or 10 legitimate storylines. It's hard to weave them all in, and it is hard to get you to invest in these in Oleg and the new Nina.
It's I'm not saying that I won't at some point care. You might give me a turn that immediately there's a payoff, and then the next season I'm like, okay, I'm into this again. But I've just found these last few episodes, when we talk about boring stretches, those are the stretches I get very bored.
The resident tourist stuff is a particularly bad offender. I totally agree. But one counterexample to what you just said, I thought the Gabriel Claudia scene this episode was fantastic. There's for sure great side characters in this orbit. I just think most of the Soviet storylines don't fall into that category.
That was my big concern with the season finale. The reason I wanted something to happen this episode is that it is a lot to tie up. Like we've even kind of talked about how there are a lot of storylines going on this season. I mean, where is Kimmy? Nina, the scientist,
and that's a big problem with a lot of shows. When they have that problem, I guess there should be a term for it when you're wrapping everything up too quickly and you don't feel like you got a real episode. You feel like you just got a bunch of vignettes.
Where is the data?
There's a lot of stuff.
We found out she was a traitor, and then
she's gone.
Yeah.
So it's a lot, and maybe they'll leave some of them open for the next season, but it's not something I really want to deal with where they catch me up a little bit before season 4 with all these characters in season finale. I would have liked to have seen 2 or 3 of them wrapped up.
I think it's a big problem with modern television now. Actually, we're doing so much and it's great and it keeps you so what's happening here, but I don't think a lot of shows are really having a hard time with that. Season finales.
Look, the charitable interpretation is that they're playing a long game. They're planting stuff here that's going to pay off seasons down the line. But the flip side of that is there are, we only have so many precious moments left in this season, and whenever they go back to the resident tourists, I just want to see more of what's actually going on that's interesting right now.
But if you read the fans' comments, a lot of people really do seem to enjoy that on a show like this where it's about spy. A lot of people like being able to, I guess you call them super fans, the 1 2 ago. I remember in season 1 where that ties in.
The tie-ins.
And I get that, but it's becoming... I think they're relying a little bit too much on the idea that people are going to stick through all the seasons. And, we do live in a different time now where if I want to catch up and watch... I didn't watch Mad Men the first 4 years, and then I watched it season 4, and I didn't really care that much for it. But then I went back and watched all the seasons on Netflix, which you can do, and we live in a different time for that. It's just... I think we're starting to just have too much faith in people sticking with shows and leaving stories open-ended for too long.
It's great that you're telling one long story, but each episode should have one cool big water cooler moment, or hey, this was a great thing to talk about.
Can I just say we still don't know what happened to that guy in the woods in The Sopranos?
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm talking about? The guy that
Pine
accident, the pine. I mean, we still don't know where that guy is.
It's got one of the greatest quotes of the whole show. Yeah, we'll get it.
That's what happened with Lost. Lost became this whole journey of a thing that people got to, and then when it ended, even I was like, what the fuck? Just wanted to throw a table. Too much
don't talk too much.
Up.
No, I'm a huge Lost defender, and I'll say this is something that Lost does that The Americans doesn't necessarily do. Every episode of Lost, there is something to hang your head on. There's something interesting happening.
That was
even
true.
If it's not paying off the broader mythology.
I'm just talking about the series finale.
Sure.
I mean, it did the thing you're never supposed to do in an improv scene, which is you're never supposed to explain it with crazy drunk or dreaming, and it was alternate reality dreaming.
I'm not a big fan of the dream ending of that whole thing. I'm not a fan of that.
Anyways.
I'm gonna, I'll defend the Lost series finale, guys, to you after this show is.
Let's
I do want to just, when we talk about other storylines and you talk about how crammed things are going to be in the final episode, we are going to see Maurice die, I think. but that's going to be precious minutes that you're going to have to devote to him dying.
I know.
You're going to have to show us
You
that.
guys
I
are right.
think
They
she
should
could
have
have done it
snapped his
so
neck
quickly.
right there.
One bullet to the head in this episode after he asses off about
But
that.
she would have lost Lisa as an asset. I mean,
Right.
everything
that
is
work isn't done yet.
right.
you know?
Everything they're doing is smart. Everything makes sense. It all feels real to this world and to the characters. But yeah, you could make it a tiny bit more exciting.
I'll be
Yeah.
fascinated to see. So I haven't been reading the Sepinwall reviews of this, and he's obviously like the kind of the premier voice that you read if you want. I mean, usually he's like the main critic that reviews a lot of these shows. But I know that this show has been heralded by a lot of big writers recently and big networks as the best show on television. That's the title it's getting. It's sort of taking the place of The Wire a few years ago, where season 3 and 4 people really caught on.
Crap was so boring. Go ahead.
Oh my god!
First season's kind
Adrian.
of boring.
Oh my God.
First season.
Heresy.
Watch season 4. Watch season 4.
I didn't
But-
get that far. Why? Because I got bored.
The show ended up having this sort of mythical status as like the best show on TV that no one watched, and I think the show is kind of taking the place right now of that. And it'll be really interesting to see if they can successfully wrap up the season next episode, because I just don't think it's possible. There's going to be too many things I'm going to want to pay off for personally. But
But if they don't pay off the Zenaida thing, do you really care? I think as long as they pay off the storylines we really care about,
if
that's
they don't
fine.
pay off the
think they-
Zenaida thing, I'm just going to be like, then you need to give me something, otherwise I'm going to feel like you're just dropping the storyline.
I don't think it's about paying it off. I think
Yeah.
the issue is that there's just going to be all these stories that they have to touch on in the season finale. They don't have to be paid off, but
Right.
it's going to be annoying to have to touch on all these stories because they weren't touched on previously. You know,
And that's my problem with a lot of great shows in modern TV. The finales is, you know, you have an hour and you have 7 things you need to close a loop on, and you can't do them all in one scene, you know. So then it's like just bump. You're here for a minute, and then you got to come back to it and tie it up, and it just feels like a montage of people getting killed, like at the end of The Godfather or something.
Did any of you guys watch the finale of this most season of Walking Dead? Do you guys watch the show?
no, I
Okay, I won't go into it then.
didn't come back after the mid-season finale.
But look, you know what? I'll reserve judgment on this series finale until I actually see this series finale.
It's fair. It's
Season.
fair.
I'm
Yes.
excited about it because there are so many
yeah.
huge
Yeah.
questions.
It's gonna be
You
a big
know,
one.
like
No doubt.
And
we
again,
all
I
come
actually,
back and we were just like, oh my god, they had to wrap up everything.
and again, to get back to this episode,
Yes.
with the exception of things like the Oleg Nunina stuff, I really enjoyed pretty much all of this episode.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
pretty, pulse pounding stuff, and we should get into some of the other actually more exciting storylines.
Yeah, I think we said everything. I didn't really have much
Yeah.
other than Maurice
Sure.
is going to die, and okay. So the Mujahideen.
Yeah.
talk about not boring. I mean, he
Yeah.
slit 2 guys' throats in the hotel
Actually,
room, guys.
now we finally see the payoff of the hotel thing, and it's kind of a brilliant plan.
Yeah.
I love that. Did you guys love that? You know, I always wondered how were they going to,
Mujahideen?
just the technicalities of her pretending to be security. They thought they were
Oh, it was
actually
good.
calling
And she's got the
out.
sweet phone, like the phone device.
That blue phone.
Oh
was
god, I
fantastic.
cracked up when I saw that. I mean, you
80s.
can't help but make 80s phones look. They always look ridiculous.
I thought they were going to kill him, and I was surprised that that he was so easily convinced to turn on the 2 men. I mean, I guess there is a paranoia there
Oh,
inherently. But it was fascinating for them to watch them just kind of like get this guy to turn.
But they set it up so nicely, even back when Philip was talking to Yusuf, saying, which of these guys do you think might be more amenable to us talking to them? And Elizabeth carefully seducing the hotel manager to get an imprint of the key, and it all built really nicely. It's just even though that stuff seems slow at first, it is kind of just an excellent example of showing the details and the procedures of this kind of spycraft. I love that.
I also thought, I really enjoy one thing that this show does really well is deeply personal beliefs in intimate settings. You get to hear people's deep, we got to hear Abbasin's deeply held convictions in such a personal setting that are so diametrically opposed to theirs. I mean,
and the reaction.
Somebody standing in your face saying, I would slit the throats of every person that exists in your universe because everything you are is a traitor and a coward. And, his whole thing of like, and I did feel sympathy for him when he said, because it's almost like, wow, we're in 2015 and Afghanistan is still, ground zero for all these, worlds colliding. And he's like, we're always at war and we have nothing. And that was a really poignant statement.
It's a good line. Yeah, it definitely made me think.
Jefferson Mays, who plays Walter Taffet, the play I saw him in New York, referenced just American relations with Afghanistan back in the 1980s. And it was about how he played a CIA operative. It was about how we supported them so much and slightly deceived them so much in the 80s. And at the very end of the play, you see the turn. You see the guy who had been their ally, who they had always helped to get information about the Soviets during that time, turn on the American and say, my son died because of what you did, because you left us and you abandoned us. And he's like, and I have joined with the extremists, and now I want to slit your throat. And so it was such a fascinating thing to see that play and like to see the turn, and to also have Abbasin Zadran talk about how viciously he wants to kill the Soviets and how extreme and convicted he is about those feelings, and just to be present in this time and to know.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it makes you think, you know, because we always see the enemy as an abstract figure, you know, and it's like, I think this show does a great job of making the world complex, because it is. Sure. It really is, and usually it's just the U.S. versus the Soviets, and I like when we get a glimpse of the people stuck in the middle or other perspectives.
It's one of the great themes of this show. You know, you can justify anything when it's defending, you know, your side and your family. You know, how many times have you heard somebody say, like, the torture of 1,000 Iraqis is worth it if it saves one American life? You know?
Yeah, and it's... Go ahead.
Yeah, no, go.
It's interesting to hear him comment about how there is no war. Now, whereas you would think in the eyes of Elizabeth and Philip and everyone at the FBI, they're in war.
They're always at war, totally.
But they're not in the type of war that he's talking about. It's not like, you know, they watch as their children die. It's not like Elizabeth or Philip are having to deal with the thought of Paige just being murdered in the streets because of something that she has absolutely nothing to do with. You know, and I think that that's a good play to see that there is the war that we think of as Americans that we don't actually ever get to see or like touch upon. And then there's a war where every single day you just don't know if your child's going to come back alive. So
yeah, well, it's, you know, it's why things like 9/11 were so violating, because it had literally been like 70 years since the last attack on American soil.
War here,
right? Like what makes us so
special?
There
was a war.
Besides,
there's been many. Yeah, there's been a lot of bloodshed on U.S. soil. Actually,
I wanted to quickly point out, when you talk about the defending either side paradox, like one of the things that was so interesting about him stating his case in the car is he says first, I killed many of them boys, no older than my nephew. I slit their throats with my knife as I heard them laughing on the shore. After they bombed my village and killed our women and babies. Yeah. And it was like the buzzwords you know what I mean? You're just watching as a fan. It's like he throws a buzzword on either side. So the one, he goes, I killed boys. You're like, oh, you slit their throats. You're a monster. And then he's like, but they killed, and then you're like, that's just
But they
war.
raped your women and bombed your village.
It just was really interesting to me, where I'm just like, I have no investment in that issue at that time, really, because it's so like it's.
But extremism does scare me, because, you know, once you're at that level, for whatever reason, whatever it is, you know, somebody's killed everybody in your family, whatever makes you get to a position where you think any action is acceptable,
right?
You know, it's a scary worldview to have.
Well, it's a very primal worldview, and it's like that movie with Nicole Kidman and Daniel Craig, but it's like the Invasion, because it's a remix of Body Snatchers.
Oh yeah, Body Snatchers, sure.
And everyone hated that movie, but there was a really good point they bring up in the movie about, like, when will you get to the point where you will kill, period? Like, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm a pacifist, I've never hurt anyone. No. You don't have a reason to hurt anyone. But if somebody's about to attack your child, if somebody's about to attack your village or attack your way of life, and they are going to kill you, that might change.
That's one of the greatest things about Walking Dead, honestly. Some of the best moments are when they do stuff that's just like, you're like, you just tore his throat out with your teeth because he's about to slit the throat of all your, you're like,
Guys, we are all just beneficiaries of circumstance. If we were born halfway around the world, we might all be bloodthirsty killers, you know?
Yeah, but I think it also helps that, you know, it helps them to be in those moments, Philip and Elizabeth, to clarify for them. I think it's important for the season arc, you know, for them to have these check-in points with people who hate them or, you know, can't stand what they're doing, or have some sort of stronger faith than they have in what, because their sort of faith in communism seems to be teetering sometimes. So I think it's an interesting juxtaposition to see somebody who is 100% thinks that it's honorable to do what they're doing, and that what they're doing is cowards, because it makes them sort of gut check and go, no, we're not cowards, we have a cause too.
Yeah, it reinforces, it's just stubbornness matching stubbornness. It reinforces their beliefs. But the thing is that nobody is right. Anytime you make an excuse to kill another human because of your beliefs, I'm sorry, this is my personal opinion, is wrong. Yeah. So nobody is right in any situation. Like nobody is doing the right thing. And everything that the other person is saying only reinforces their beliefs. And that's an interesting comment.
Yeah. It was a really, I just thought that was the highlight of an episode that didn't have a lot of banging action.
But did anyone else have anything?
I was just going to say that the scene later where he slits his throat, so it gets horrifically bloody.
Very graphic.
A shocking image.
There.
Very scary. Yeah, terrifying.
Stone face.
But we did actually see him die.
I don't think they killed him.
No.
Okay. So what were they going to do with him?
Probably,
so does he still speak at the?
Yeah, who knows?
The UN?
I'm sure something will happen. But before
let's take a shower first.
Before we move on, I forgot to mention this earlier. As always, we enjoy hearing from you all. We enjoy your commentary, your feedback. We also really appreciate when you subscribe to iTunes, SoundCloud.
Yeah, can we get some positive reviews on iTunes? I like that. We have a lot of good ones. A lot of nice. I appreciate those.
We appreciate hearing your feedback. I know sometimes we're not as historical as you all would like, but we really do try our best, and we do enjoy hearing from you all and just hearing what's going on and being educated by you guys. Sometimes we just don't know stuff, and so if you do, please tell us.
Interacting is
lay some knowledge on us.
Definitely a lot of fun for us. It's like we all talk to each other, but it's also super fun to talk to people who we don't sit and watch
really
the episodes
passionate
with.
As well. Yeah. So on that note, just want to touch briefly on Claudia and Gabriel.
Wow.
Because that was kind of like worlds collide.
Frank Langella and Margot Martindale. Man, I could watch a whole episode of just them talking to each other.
And them just getting upset about all the different types of burgers you can have.
I like that because that was such a commentary on America has too much choice.
Yeah.
That was what that was. That was
Isn't this a Greek diner?
This whole system is screwed. I mean, they have 14 burgers at a Greek diner. It's ridiculous.
Sure, these are hardcore Soviets.
I like
way
a good
back.
mushroom Swiss burger.
Or even with the tea.
I'm just saying.
Thank you, Ritter.
I mean, if you guys have any burger preferences, I'm curious to know
I
what
like
they
a
are.
blue cheeseburger on a was that the soft a pretzel roll bun?
Oh, nice.
With a fried egg on top and bacon, because I'm American.
Yeah, that gets real messy though when the egg opens. When the egg opens,
so good. And you sop it up.
Heart attack on a plate.
Yes,
yes.
That's because we're American.
Yes,
Texans.
That sounds good.
But no, even with the tea, just the annoyance she had when the waitress started to list the tea. She's like, we have chamomile, Earl Grey, and she's like, tea.
In Russia, we have tea.
Yeah.
And coffee.
It's just very simple. Like, this is what I want. That's it. Tea is tea.
Sometimes I feel that way when I'm at a fancy coffee place. Like, just give me the coffee.
Well,
just give me the tea.
Just pour, nothing in it. Just
don't tell me any names.
Don't make me say an Italian name.
Don't make me say anything.
They say there's a study where if you offer someone more than I think 4 to 5 options, like if you're trying to sell them something, like, oh, would you like to taste this, taste that, they're just not going to buy anything because you've given them too many options.
Option paralysis.
So they get to the point where they're just like,
when I'm at a restaurant, I feel that way when you have, that huge menu and it's got 100. I'm just like, you know what, whatever, just give me French toast.
Give me in and out any day. 3 options. That's it.
Right?
Oh, come on, there's off menu too. There's
I've been
double animal style.
I've been in food service, I've been in retail, and I've been in straight sales, and I can tell you, you'll get further by telling someone what to get straight up than you will from giving them 8 choices. I
actually hate when I go to a restaurant and I'm like, tell me what's good. And they're like, here's everything's good. And all 9 items are
No, right? You give them 3 options, like a cheap option, an expensive option, and one in the middle, and they always go for the one in the middle.
Or more than that, if someone just says, what's good? And you say, what do you like? Or what are you looking for? And they say this, and you say, then this is exactly what you should get. And 9 times out of 10,
boom,
that sounds good because it's confidence,
Yeah. So with Claudia and Gabriel, we did I didn't think Gabriel had any hesitancy about the Paige situation. So it was nice to actually
that was humanizing him in a way we really haven't.
That he just
felt
wasn't
like we always
comfortable.
felt like he was just pure manipulation,
Yeah.
and it's nice.
The main thing I got out of that scene is that both these guys really care about their agents and care about protecting them.
Yeah.
Like Gabriel expressed some sympathy. Like it was, Philip and Elizabeth were finally on the same page. For part of the season, I thought maybe he was trying to drive them apart. But this seems to say no. He really wanted them to be happy together.
Yeah.
Also, I thought it was cool that they referenced what happened in Russia after their cooperative's kid went nuts and killed everyone. It's like it's cool but to hear some backstory and some reaction. They almost shut down Operative S, I think
Which
they called it.
like,
Directorate S.
How do you what were they going to, how do you shut down Directorate S? Like, what does that mean for Elizabeth and Philip that they died?
It means, you come back to Russia now.
Nah, your assets, you probably clip all your assets.
Yeah, I don't think
In real life, the like situation that this show is actually based on, they were in America much longer than the operation was active, and at a certain point there was an actual deal made between the U.S. and Russia to trade them as assets back to Russia. They got them back.
Oh.
Do you think there are former Russian sleeper agents still in America?
Yes, I do.
Wasn't that just the case not even 10 years ago? They found a bunch of Russian spies.
Yeah.
And they were like,
Did you ever see, what was that 80s movie where they were like in a town and they all were pretending to be Americans in like Wisconsin? It's great.
Red Dawn? No, Red Dawn's great.
Sweet.
I want to know. What? So there were they were all pretending to be Russian spies?
Yeah, it was like a whole town.
thrillers.
Yeah, I gotta look it up. It was somebody look it
I'm
up.
Is
just
that one where
thinking-
Tim Allen was pretending to be Amish?
No,
I think that's a
that's with
different one.
Kirstie Alley. That's horrible.
I think that's a different one, but
Or like
I'll look it up while we're talking.
The one where everyone turns into a zombie after a meteor attack. No, just me. I love that movie.
But there was they were all mourning for the deaths of these two agents back in Russia. And it makes sense. The Russians have invested incredibly heavily in these agents. I think anytime they lose even one, it's like a huge issue.
And
for
it's
them.
a really tragic way for agents
And
to
it's
die.
really tragic, yeah.
This kid slaughtered his entire family, killed his sister.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's insane.
Well, sorry, I'm just excited. I want to talk about Martha.
We should get to it.
Oh,
Let's
okay.
talk
Well,
about it.
If no one else has anything else to say on Claudia and Gabriel,
Ritter,
go ahead.
anything else?
No, that's it. I was trying to look up this silly movie.
So
Somebody just texted to us or email us.
yeah, Twitter.
Right.
So Martha, Stan. Well,
Stan.
first off, Stan getting savvy, really savvy. I
Yeah.
was so impressed.
Oh, with Adderall.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That was
It
good.
was
Stan
and
shooting
even-
him down.
Yes, even him, and also bringing up the fact that he thinks that the woman who he shot is the same woman that attacked them. I was like, oh, savvy.
I know.
Not savvy, letting Martha know that you suspect her. Not savvy at all.
Also,
But I'm just looking out for you. How are you doing?
Like, come on now.
Come
Did you
on, let's
notice-
get
did
some
you-
coffee.
did you guys notice the moment that she slipped? I thought when she called him Agent Beeman.
No, that wasn't a slip.
I thought that was
that
deliberate.
was,
So like
yeah,
that
that
was
was
a
that
house?
was a,
Yeah.
It was a slip in that
I think it was.
she realized that she wasn't dealing with a friend. She was dealing with an
I know,
agent.
but I think it was a slip in the way
I
of
don't think it
playing
was a slip. I think it was I see what you're doing.
Yeah, I think it was totally
Yeah.
intentional because she calls
Yeah.
him Stan at first,
right?
and then she
but I
calls him
think that
Agent
was
Beeman.
a mistake. I'm saying that's a giveaway.
He's got
to
nothing
me.
on her.
Right.
So-
That's legitimately true. Everybody in this office is paranoid about everybody else. That tension's clearly spilling over in this episode. I think Martha, knows that, and I think Stan probably figures that. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, she
I don't
figured
know.
out I'm trying to. Yeah.
I feel like it makes you more suspicious to call him Agent Beeman.
Why was it? He said that's a great book. I've read that book, Shogun.
Shogun.
Why?
So was that Clark?
that was what I was thinking. It's probably not her book. That's what you have to assume.
I don't know. I
She
would
wouldn't
have
have
to.
read
Could
that.
you look up what show?
Jane-
I feel like that's a different type of reference.
It's like about an American in Japan, I want to say.
Yeah, my dad's read it.
Okay. It didn't seem like
It's that
he
Tom
was.
Cruise movie,
Yes.
The Last
Last
Samurai.
Samurai.
Last
Yes.
Dude on Earth.
I don't think that Clark would leave a book.
Shogun was a TV series too. Actually, I believe.
I don't think it's based on the book.
Maybe a
Oh.
miniseries.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be something where Clark would leave anything behind
No.
that is his, or that she would. Maybe she did because
It's
she did
not-
hide the picture.
It would be
but-
that suspicious. It was like just a like a big mainstream hit. It makes sense that she might have a copy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, I definitely thought that was interesting. That he says that, and like the tone changes really. I also thought it was interesting that they were teasing us like she's gonna kill herself. Like they were definitely
Yeah.
giving us those clues the whole episode. So for the episode to end the way that it ended, that's like my big question mark.
I never really thought she was going to kill herself. I thought she had a gun and that she might eventually shoot Clark.
This episode,
my
I thought
main
she was going to kill herself. That whole calling mom and dad is like, that's the thing you do before you kill yourself.
Did kind of feel like, but I don't feel like before we actually spoke to Allison, I ever thought that there was a possibility that
I didn't
she
feel
might
like
kill
the
herself.
scene before she got to the couch had prepared us enough as an audience to be okay with that being the end of her life scene.
I love her as an actress.
So I was glad, even though I wrote, "Oh, she's about to die," I felt like now looking back on it, I'm glad because I felt like we needed one more scene with her, and now we, are there. We're now there. Like we're now at the point where it's like, okay.
Well, I do feel like the reason Philip revealed himself was to avoid the possibility of having to kill her, because if she does leave, if she does prove to be suspicious, I think the order will be to kill her. And what's interesting is that Operation Zephyr is Martha.
Yeah.
And so when they were talking about terminating that, I was like, well, what does that mean? Even though they have the mail the
is
robot,
Martha or was Martha? Because I don't know if Martha's...
Martha.
Yeah.
It was Martha, but I mean, she is kind of just like no longer really... Well, no, it is still part of Martha because she's the way they get things in and out. Even though they have the robot set up or whatever.
I don't know. I think I feel like she's expendable now.
She's kind of expendable, but if they need anything done by someone to go physically in and do something, she's the person that they have. So if they do end that operation, it's not just they need to get the robot back out, so they would have to talk to her about coordinating a time to get the robot and remove the mic.
Right.
And then they would also probably... I just feel like she's of use as long as that operation's going on. And she's of use as long as Philip does have some type of feelings for her. Because I don't think it would have revealed himself.
But maybe not as of use as she used to be.
Yeah.
And at least in the past, if you see Philip or Elizabeth's true face, that means you're about to die. That's the big indicator.
I think she's now, if your utility is on a curve, she's trending down. And now is the time to kill her.
I think that Philip definitely, and we've talked about this, he has real feelings for her, so I think that's... But I also, first I wanted to say, I think she's such a great actress. I love how she's able to balance... She balances her sort of comic relief role in such a great way, and it's seeing her unravel this last little stretch. I mean, she's really shown her chops. I'm definitely very impressed. But I also felt that when he starts to take the wig off, I was just sort of asking myself why. Because if you're going to kill her, that's one thing. But if you're just sort of trying to prove to her that, if you're trying to show her one more thing to sort of get her to calm down. I mean, her knowing that, unless he's like, I am a Russian spy. But her just knowing that he's been wearing a wig and he's like a different guy, I don't think it changes the stakes because she still can't talk to anyone about it.
Right, but I think it's what you were saying. It makes him not want to kill her, like not able to kill her in some way.
Like, I want you to trust me.
Yeah.
Like, trust that I know what I'm doing. Here, I'll reveal myself to you. Because if she does go off the rails, if she does go home, if she does start to act suspicious, he will have no choice.
Yep.
Even if he doesn't do it, he might send Hans in and Hans do it, So
Hans would obviously have no problem doing it.
Him trying to gain her trust by saying, this is what I really look like, this is who I am, I think that's a way for him to kind of stop that from happening. It's just a way for him to keep her in line.
Yeah, it's sad because when we talked to Allison and she referenced the statistic about the secretaries that find out and then they kill themselves, you really, you have to just feel like that's what's coming in the next episode.
Allison must know the end is nigh.
Yeah, it just feels like...
But...
Maybe not.
Okay.
I think she would spoil it like that.
I'm just saying, if they were going to...
I mean, she doesn't know, but you gotta know. The writing's on the wall.
If they were going... But if Philip was going to kill her... Why wouldn't he kill her at the end of this episode? This isn't a show that typically does cliffhangers like that.
I'm not saying, that's
Saving
what we're
it
talking
for the
about.
finale,
We're talking
right?
about them doing cliffhangers, but
Right.
I'm not saying that Philip is going to kill her. I'm saying he's trying to avoid killing her. But that doesn't mean that I had a weird sense of deja vu. That doesn't mean that he's not somebody won't be sent in to do the job.
I think he's gonna have to do it. That's a prediction. Let's save it. But
we should save it for predictions because I've got a different idea.
I was going to say, I don't know if we were going to touch on this earlier, but the mother-daughter Russia trip that I had predicted. I think that's interesting. Is that in a prediction zone, or is there anything to talk about from the episode?
You just want us to be like, you were right, Ritter.
Yeah, I did.
You were right.
Yeah.
You're so awesome, Matt. You're so great.
Really smart.
No, but you also gave yourself a pat on the back.
I did.
One of your predictions earlier.
Guys, I chose to wear this suit today. It's not my favorite suit.
No,
what do you guys think?
It's a very nice suit.
Oh, thank you.
When is your shirtless Periscope tonight? I gotta check into that.
I'm gonna watch. He's gonna have 3 new fans for his shirtless.
Oh my gosh! I'm never getting on Periscope.
Is there a little button in the corner to like add dollars, like in the?
Oh, you want to throw ones at me?
Striptease.
Should we just go into predictions, guys?
Yes, let's go into predictions.
Making it digitally rain. You're gonna try.
Oh my god!
Now, you're
I'm
AfterBuzz
working with a bunch of
TV.
slides.
Gold coins.
All right, so who would like to go first?
I'll do it.
Okay, I'm trying to be fair.
All right, Allison, we love your work, but I actually think Philip's going to have to kill her himself, and I guess he's going to shoot her with that gun. Otherwise, we wouldn't. Maybe it's just a tease, but he's going to have to kill her himself this episode.
All right. I'm going to suggest an alternative theory, which is that Elizabeth and Paige and Martha all spirit away to Russia.
The whole group.
Paige is going, Elizabeth's going, and Philip is like, I got to get Martha out of here.
Ladies' night in Moscow.
So Martha's like, okay. Martha's like, I got to go, I got to get away. Everybody knows here. Maybe she'd be willing to do something extreme like that.
And then Elizabeth's going to be like, by the way, this is your Aunt Martha.
Right. Like she's going to believe that at this point.
I think, I hate to say this, I think Philip at some point in the next episode is going to have to do the deed. I think we're going to see him boning Kimmy at some point in the next episode.
Kimmy.
I know it's a random prediction. I feel like they're not going to just like let that storyline linger. I kind of feel like that's going to happen.
I think Kimmy's going to be like a check-in. I think they're saving Kimmy for next season for some reason.
So she gets a little older legally.
Right. It's like just like Philip. The show is waiting for her to become of age, and then she's going to become an asset.
Yeah, an asset to the show, big time.
Okay, so 1, Martha dies. 2, Paige and Elizabeth get trapped in Russia and cannot come back because Henry has revealed to Stan who they are, and Philip goes on the run after Martha commits suicide in front of him.
Am I the only one who thinks Martha's not going to die? I think Martha's going to make it, guys.
That was a good prediction.
Martha is an immortal. She can't die. I do not accept it. I don't accept it.
Well, usually when there's the gun and the checkoff, it usually means that the person's going to kill themselves. Like,
But maybe they know or think that, and so they're not going to do it.
Or off stage.
They're pretty smart. The writers are pretty smart.
Yeah.
They are, and so they may not, but I think I still stick by my belief that I thought that both of them were going to have to go on the run, but with the whole thing of Elizabeth and Paige being in Russia, I think they're going to get trapped in Russia.
Yeah.
Henry's going to reveal them to Stan, and then Philip's going to have to go on the run.
It's not.
Oh, who do we know who's playing the grandmother?
No.
Oh, we should get her on the podcast.
I just don't want to get Lois on the podcast.
We should get her on Periscope.
Yeah. She's the best part. I still stick to it. That was the best episode of the season. That was the best whole sequence of the season. Amazing.
All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up. Where can everyone find everyone?
On Earth. Oh, you mean me?
What's your Periscope, Ritter? That's what I want to know.
It's Matt Ritter 1 on Twitter, Matt Ritter Comedy on YouTube, and that's my website.
I'm at Radio TFB on Twitter, and I actually am at Radio TFB on Periscope. Not that I plan to Periscope often, but it exists. You should know.
I've consolidated all of mine into just Periscope. You can find me at Ben Bateman Media on Periscope. That's all I do.
When?
You can find me on Twitter
About
and
3
Instagram.
minutes.
Oh my god.
I'll be in the bathroom, guys. I'll see you in a second.
I'm Adrian Snow. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Miss Adrian Snow, ADRIANSNOW. And no, I will never appear topless on Periscope.
It's
or appear
collarbones.
on Periscope.
Collarbones up, guys.
Thank you guys so
But
much
she didn't
for
rule
tuning
out bottomless, or
I will never appear on Periscope. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next Wednesday.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later? Just me, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.